गंगामाई की जय, जमुनामाई की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, Shabhaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to some of the devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, Nitai Gaur Premanande. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Vastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanamane. Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pacharane, Nivasesha Sanyavani, Vaskati Dev Satarane. Om Ganatamanandasya, Jana Jana Salakaya, Chaksusumilitan Jena Tasmai, Sri Gurave Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manavistam Stapitam Dena Bhutale Sayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Sahapadantikam Vanchakopatrubhyascha Kripasinuvaivacha Patitaram Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. This class is a Japa workshop. Why? Now, when I ask questions, please raise your hands. Don't just call out. But why did you come to a Japa workshop? And what do you expect from a Japa workshop? I'll call on you right after. Yes, Paul.
Reduce my distractions in Japa.
You would like to reduce your distractions in Japa. Raise your hand if you are in that same category. You too? Really? Chris, you too? Did you raise your hand also? Okay. Now, why do you want to reduce your distractions in Japa? Yes. What's your name?
Abhilash.
Abhilash.
So that we can hear properly the holy name.
Okay. Now, to hear properly the holy name. Now, who can guess what my next question is? Why do you want to hear properly the holy name? Abhilash, since it is, you can answer. Why would you like to hear the holy name properly? Yeah, go ahead.
So that
Who said that? You said that? Did you raise your hand first? Oh yes, I forgot to say, you have to wait till I call on you. You are Bombay boy, yes? Okay, why do we want to hear the holy names? Yes, you would like to answer? Yes.
because this is the solution of all the problems in our Kali Yuga.
That it solves all the problems of Kali Yuga if you hear the holy names. Yes? Was that your answer?
Yes.
Yes. It's a really good answer. But now I'll ask you a very difficult question. Do you really believe that? Huh? Of course. This is Shuddha Bhakta. No, I didn't mean to tease you. I actually really didn't mean to tease you. I mean, that's really wonderful. But how frustrating it must be for you and for everyone else that our understanding is that if we can just contact Krishna, which He's made, which in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nam Nama Kari Bahudaniva Saktis, Tatapita Nivite Smaranan. So He's made it so easy for us to be with Him in the form of the holy names, and it will solve all the problems for Kali Yuga. And since I'm in Kali Yuga, that means it will also solve all my problems. And yet, I'm unable to taste it in a way and get the result that I so much long for, that I so much need, that I so much require. It's very frustrating for us conditioned souls. One of the symptoms of Kali Yuga is manda samanda mateo, manda abhagya upadrutaha, that everyone in Kali Yuga's mind is so disturbed. Now that's an interesting concept. It's much more practical for taking notes when you write on your hand than on your mobile phone. It's much less distracting than the mobile phone is. That's a good system. It's old-fashioned system. What did you write down? I know what you wrote down. Always chant Hare Krishna and never forget. And then every time you go, you remember. Very good system. But it's so frustrating, or it can be so frustrating, if we have this wonderful, wonderful Krishna in the form of His holy names right in front of us, but there's a part of us that really wants to connect, be with Krishna in that form. But there seems to be another part of us, or maybe even many parts, that really have no desire to be with Krishna, because the mind takes us in so many different directions directly away from Krishna. So it is very frustrating for devotees. And I also think that if you ask most devotees if there is one thing that they could do that would most improve their Krishna consciousness, if they had to choose one thing, if they could just do that one thing, it would most improve their Krishna consciousness. Many, many devotees either would place first or second or third, if I could just improve my japa. And even to make it even more frustrating, on some days we're able to hear quite well. Some days we're able to hear quite well, and sometimes in every day that we chant, that we're able to hear some mantras, but yet the mind tends to wander. This is very much the quality of the Kali Yuga mind, which is so much inflicted with which modes of material nature? Which modes of material nature? Very good. Which modes of material nature? Yes, and which one causes our minds to wander? Passion. We think here and we think there, and we go here and we go there. And we can so easily lose track of why we are sitting there or standing with our beads in our hand. Now, with that great hope, as Prabhu said, with that great hope that the difficulties of Kali Yuga can be overcome. But what else can the holy names give us other than overcoming the difficulties of Kali Yuga? What else can the holy names give us? Yes, please raise your hand. Someone way in the back. Yes, Paul. Yes. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says in one song that it can take us to Goloka Vrindavan and reveal our Siddha Deya, actual identity, who we actually are in relationship to Krishna. So in one sense it is very sad, that it is sad in one sense that we are so unfortunate that although the holy names can award us everything, we have no attraction or little attraction for the holy names. Do you, out of all your devotee friends, do you know some devotees that have a real taste for japa? Do you know anyone who has a real taste? You don't have to say who it is, but do you know anyone who has a real taste for japa of your associates? Yes. So those souls have been in some ways given a blessing by Krishna, a blessing that we would also like to get. Now, because I myself, I'm not a very great japa chanter, because I also have a very, very active mind. I have a very active mind. So when I sit down and chant japa, the question comes, what do I do, or what should I do to improve my japa? Now, I wrote a book about japa, and it's called Japa. And it really came from my own attempts to improve my japa. And there are some very simple principles that that practically speaking you can improve your japa in a very practical and simple way. So I'd like to discuss some of those principles and help you chant and prove to you that you can improve your japa, because sometimes it seems that no matter what I do, I can't improve my japa. But I would like to show you that you can improve your japa, and even today you'll see that you can improve your japa. And we'll just speak about some principles one by one, and then what we're going to do, since this is a japa workshop, we're going to chant japa. Now, the first principle is that you really should prepare your mind before you begin. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean that before I begin to chant japa, I should think about what I'm going to do and how I wish to do it, and get the mind set so it's most likely to cooperate with your desire to improve your japa. And the way I call it is not improve japa, I call it try to be with Krishna in the form of the holy names. This is a time, japa time is a very special time. It is a very rare time. And even this japa workshop is a very rare time, because at this particular time, the way we want to think and the way we wish to think whenever we chant japa is for this short time where I'm sitting with my beads, and I'm going to I am going to chant Krishna's names, but I want to focus my consciousness on Krishna's name. For this short time, I become very determined. I take a sankalpa that for right now, I have nothing else to do. I have nothing else to do except be with Krishna in the form of his holy names. Now, if you're not going to take this vow, be in this mood, if you think you have other things to do while you're chanting japa, do you expect that your chanting of japa will be focused? Do you think that your mind will easily wander from one thing to the next, when you yourself haven't decided that right now I have nothing else to do but chant japa? And again, the way I look at this, when my japa chanting is proper, whisper is that this is my time to be with Krishna in the form of his holy names. And this is my time to be with Krishna. And how do I do that? It is very simple. A simple stage that we can do and improve just by our determination and our will and our own desire is that we try to touch Krishna. Touch Krishna, be with Krishna in the form of his holy name, in the form of sound vibration. Touch him with our consciousness by the process of hearing. This is the basic process that Srila Prabhupada taught us. It's a meditation on the sound vibration of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It's a meditation on the sound vibration of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It's Krishna in the form of sound. Now often when I give this kind of a seminar, a class, a workshop on it, I give an example that to me makes it very obvious. That you say, if you want to contact Krishna in the form of his holy names, but your mind is wandering, in one sense your tongue is chanting, but in another sense you're not there at all. It's mindless chanting. It's like the shadow, not even the shadow of chanting, but it's so shallow that it doesn't bring the satisfaction that we want. Now here's an example of that. Now who's the right person to ask for this one? Not you, not you, not you. Not you. Yes. Okay. Now, what is your name, Paul?
Shashwat.
Shashwat. Hare Krishna. Shashwat means independent. Excuse me? Oh, Shashwat. Shashwatam. Okay. At first I thought you said internet. And I thought, no, this is... And then I thought that you're exactly the right person to perform it. Now, just remember what you did when you first woke up this morning. Okay? You remember? Long time ago, I know. Shashwat, can you remember? No? You remember how you got here today? Okay. What does that mean?
Nothing.
You ran all the way here. Okay. I want you to start telling me aloud so I can hear and maybe others can hear. Tell me when you started running. You remember where you began running? Okay. Now tell me everything that you saw and what you did while you were running and what you were feeling and thinking. Go ahead. Begin.
So I had to keep my bag wherever I could. So I saw that the guard was not there, sitting on the Gurukul building's floor. And I just kept the bag beside the dustbin. And I ran to the back side and saw one of my friends, Abhilash, was sitting. And when he saw come to Shankar fast as soon as possible, and then I ran.
Okay, stop. Now, I just wanted to tell you that I was just joking. Okay? Now, how did you feel? You knew I was playing, you knew I was joking, but how did you feel when you were trying to be with me and explain something to me, but I had so many other interests? And go ahead, how did you feel?
I was too focused in thinking what I was doing.
Now that's why we called on you. Most other people would have felt very discouraged. Yes? How old are you?
23.
Okay, you should remain a brahmachari and just keep very, very, very focused. Okay? You said yes just then. Do you know what you just did? There's a commitment for the next 60 years. What will your mother say?
She's okay.
Okay. But most of you have had the experience of talking to someone. You want to explain something to someone, and the person's mind is not there at all. And how, we'll ask another person, how do you feel when you're talking to someone and it's clear that their mind is completely somewhere else? How do you feel? You have to raise your hand. Yes, we ask them not to do this. They have this experience all the time. Yes, how do you feel?
Very disappointed.
Very disappointed. Do you want to just keep talking and being with that person? No, anyway, we're going to start a family quarrel if I'm not careful over here. But what happens if you're talking to someone and that person's attention isn't on you? You want to be with that person, but that person clearly doesn't want to be with you, has no interest to be with you. You naturally lose interest in being with that person. And not only that, but if you're trying to explain something to someone, for example, and that person doesn't want to be with you, not at all interested in what you have to say, one might even feel insulted. And in one sense, because when we talk about avoiding aparads, offenses, the simplest way to understand an aparad is that it's an insult. It's an insult to Krishna. And if you insult someone, continuously, you're going to destroy your relationship with that person. I think this point is clear. If you insult someone continuously, you're going to destroy your relationship with that person. And if you commit a big insult to a person, then you might even destroy that relationship. So, one reason why we should improve our japa, our chanting, and try our best to focus our mind when we're chanting, is because we want to show Krishna. Ultimately, it's up to Krishna how much he reveals himself to us. We want to show Krishna that we have a genuine desire to be with him in the form of the holy names. Because Abhinatam Nama Namano, Krishna and his names Abhina, they're the same. So when we begin to chant our japa, we should make a conscious decision. Well, now I'm going to pick up my beads, and ask yourself, I didn't mean to give such a heavy class. You're leaving now.
Actually, I can do the translation for some.
Okay. Otherwise, I was going to get insulted. But we have to consciously decide, and I really mean this, we have to consciously decide whether or not we want to be with Krishna now in the form of his holy names. Not that we can just do it by our decision, but what we can do is try our best to be with Krishna in the form of his holy names. And if we don't want to be with Krishna, then maybe we should do something else for a while, and when we want to be with Krishna in the form of his holy names, we should come back to our japa. So this is one of the basic elements, or the simplest element for when we begin to chant our japa, we have to decide, we have to know what we're doing. We want to become conscious of what we're doing. Now is my time to be with Krishna in the form of His holy names. I want to be with Krishna. I want to awaken. I want to open up my relationship with Krishna. For so many lives, I've turned my back on my relationship with Krishna. So many other things were important to me, but this one thing never really became the center of my life. And now, for this time when I'm sitting down and chanting japa, I want to be with Krishna. I want to be with you, Krishna. And what I'm going to do is try my best. I may not do it perfectly, but I'm going to try my best. So there are other ways to prepare the mind. So many devotees say prayers to make their mind filled with thoughts of Krishna, affectionate thoughts of Krishna. But this is a very simple way. Make it a sankalpa, a decision. And if we don't prepare our mind, most likely it'll just continue wandering as it does all day long. A second principle is, well, what should I do? How am I going to try to be with Krishna in the form of His holy names? And the answer is quite simple, as I mentioned. The process is simple. Of course, there are many stages of chanting. This is a very simple stage. Not simple to do fully, but it's simple to understand and simple to try your best. A much higher stage is to chant with great love and devotion. Now, how are you going to do that when you're tired and it's early in the morning and you feel like you have no love and devotion in your heart? But here's something that you can do in a simple way, is try to touch Krishna in the form of His holy names with your consciousness. Be consciously with Krishna by hearing. Just hearing the sound vibration. Just try to hear one Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now, the reason I stress just try to hear one Hare Krishna Mahamantra is because that is really all that's in your power. In one sense, we'd like to hear all our rounds, 16 rounds, 32 rounds, 64 rounds, 128 rounds. We want to hear that, but we can't do all that right now. That's so much in the future. And the mind in the mode of passion tends to move towards the future. And we want to avoid getting the mind in the mode of passion. So don't worry about all the mantras you have to chant left, all the rounds you have to chant. Just worry or focus on one simple goal, trying to hear the Hare Krishna mantra that you're chanting now. The mantra you're chanting now, beginning with Hari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. If you can catch the first Hari especially, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and then try your best to hear the rest of the words in the mantra. You're touching that sound vibration with your consciousness by the process of hearing. Keep it simple. Keep the process that you are using to focus, keep it very simple. Don't make it complicated. And don't worry about what anyone else is doing. Just try to hear one Hare Krishna Mahamantra beginning with Hari, and just try to hear the one that you are chanting now. Don't even think, I'd like to hear one mantra at a time, because then at a time means your mind is full with what I'm going to do next, and the next mantra, and you're already racing ahead to the future. Just keep it very, very simple. Keep your mind focused on this one simple goal, to be with Krishna in the form of His holy names by touching Krishna and the sound, with the sound vibration of Krishna, with your consciousness. We want to touch Krishna with our consciousness. And the way to do that is by hearing. And that is what Prabhupada really stressed. To hear the holy names, to hear the holy names. Now something is wonderful is that when the mind, which rages like the wind a lot of the time, moving here, moving there, when it understands, oh, this is what I have to do now, is just here, it can very easily slow down and quiet. And what we don't want to do is speed it up and speed it up and speed it up. We want to make the mind cooler. Because in Kali Yuga, everyone is speeding up their minds. And things like the mobile phones, just the way the society works, so much information comes in and the mind is just moving so fast. It's quite unnatural and it's quite disturbing actually. So at least while we're chanting our japa, we want to slow down our mind and keep our goal very, very simple. And what's the simple goal? Is to hear one Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, to touch Krishna's name. Krishna and the name are the same. To touch Krishna in the form of sound vibration by the simple process of hearing. And if your mind wanders, it's natural, don't worry about it. Just try to hear, bring it back. Yato nistalati manas chanchalamasstiram. This is the nature of the mind. It's always chanchal, it's always moving. Don't worry. Just bring it back to the simple goal of hearing one Hare Krishna Maha Mantra beginning with Hare. And be detached from the results. If your mind wanders, because sometimes I do sometimes. I'll chant 16 rounds and I haven't been there at all. I realize I haven't even heard one Hare Krishna mantra. So we don't want to do that. But bring the mind back. Be detached though. And if you can hear one Hare Krishna mantra, if you can hear one Hare Krishna mantra, you are so fortunate. And it really affects the consciousness. And I have seen that if I chant without focus, it's much better than not chanting at all. But it's so dissatisfying. And on the other hand, if somehow or another I can focus on Krishna's names, or even try my best, whether I'm successful or not, it's not in my control in many ways. But if I simply try my best to hear Krishna's holy names, one Hare Krishna Maha Mantra beginning with Hare, this is so much more satisfying to the heart. And not only that, it awakens in the heart the desire to be with Krishna even more in the form of his holy names. And this is what we want, an increase in taste. Does anyone have any questions on this? Because I've tried to start in a simple way, because I would like to get very quickly into chanting japa and to show you that you can do it. Especially with a group of so many devotees who have come just for this purpose, to be with Krishna in the form of his holy names. But does anyone have any questions at this point? Yes, Paul.
Hare Krishna, Bhakti.
Hare Krishna.
Prayers that slow down the mind and hear Hare Krishna mantra. attentively. But technically we slow down the mind, but after 2-3 mantra again mind starts speeding up.
And then what you should do, if your mind starts speeding up, just try your best to hear one Hare Krishna mantra beginning with Hari. Just bring it back to that very simple goal. Keep it very simple. Okay?
And probably we do it, but after some time, mind will pass something dry.
It will.
Dry.
If you hear, it gets dry, or if you don't hear, it gets dry. What's your experience, your honest experience?
I didn't have any love and affection, but I do technically.
Say that again.
I don't have any attachment with Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Okay.
But technically I do it, but after that I feel dry.
Okay. But what I asked was, do you hear the Hare Krishna mantra when you chant?
Sometimes.
Okay. When you hear, is it dry? Or is it dry when your mind is wandering but your mouth is chanting? I think it's more that. So what I would suggest is keep trying to be with Krishna in the form of his holy names by hearing. And if the mind wanders, and it's natural, just bring it back to the simple goal of hearing. And then there's other things, of course, but let us just start with that. And is that okay? Okay.
Babiji, Hare Krishna. I have a question. I have initially just started a week since chanting. I chant one round. And I do not have the beads, I chant with my hands. And I lose track of chanting. I get lost. Hi.
Do you have a set of beads with you now?
I don't have a beads.
Does anyone have any beads to give this? What's your name?
Bhavna.
Bhavana, Hare Krishna. Did someone just give you a set of beads right now to use? Okay, so I would suggest use your hands, but chant on beads, and just chant on them, and each bead try to focus on hearing one Hare Krishna mantra. Hare Krishna. Try to hear that first Hari, and try to focus your mind on that. And then after the one mantra is chanted, you move to the next beat.
And while you're hearing Hare Krishna, and if you forget to even move, like I chant and I forget, I chant repeatedly, and I'm in this zone.
But you've been chanting on your hands. Now chanting on beats.
Yeah.
Is this your daughter?
No.
No, she's just playing with you. Hare Krishna. She's a very friendly one. Just don't worry about that, okay? Just after you finish the mantra, move to the next beat. You remember, and if by chance you go into such ecstasy that you forget to move the beads, don't worry about it. Okay, but let's try to chant now, and then we'll ask. After a little while, we'll stop and have questions. Now, what's the first thing we should do? No, wait. Raise your hand, please. Who's going to remind us? Raise your hand, please. And yes, Mataji.
First thing to think that this time we are going to meet with Krishna.
Yeah, prepare your mind and make a sankalpa, especially this one point, that for this short time right now, I have nothing else to do. I have nothing else to do except be with Krishna. Please make that sankalpa, make that determination for this short time. And then begin chanting pray. You can pray to Guru, Vaishnavas, to Srila Prabhupada, to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Radharasi Bihari, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Sisi Gornitai. We can pray for some strength and determination. But become determined to try your best. That's all you have to do. Now, while we're chanting, what I'm going to do is speak a little bit. Just say this more or less the same thing I have been saying. I'll say things like that, but don't stop and listen to me, but rather let it help you focus on what you're trying to do now, what your goal is, which is to be with Krishna in the form of His holy names by hearing. And if you can hear one Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, beginning with Hare, you're so fortunate. So focus your mind, make your sankalpa. You can pray for some extra strength and sincerity. And then when you're ready, begin chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. If your mind wanders, don't worry about it. Just bring it back to the simple goal of being with Krishna in the form of His holy names. And if you can hear one Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, beginning with Hare, you're so fortunate. Just keep this simple goal in mind, to be with Krishna in the form of His holy names. By touching the sound vibration with your consciousness by hearing. Just try to hear one Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, beginning with Hare. And if you hear one mantra, you're so fortunate. Be determined to try your best. Be determined to try your best. Remember, you have nothing else to do now. This is a very rare time, a very special time. You have nothing else to do now except be with Krishna. Try your best. And if you can hear one Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, you're very fortunate. Not now.
Actually, Hindi translation is going on behind there. We have to inform them.
Okay. Let's just say.
हरे कृष्णा, जो हिंदी में सुनना चाहते हैं लेक्चर, उनके लिए पीछे हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन हो रहा है, तो वो पीछे जाके बैठ सकते हैं।
चक्रा हॉल में हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन होने वाला है।
चक्रा हॉल में हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन हो रहा है, तो जिन्हें भी हिंदी में सुनना है वो चक्रा हॉल में जाके बैठ सकते हैं।
Okay, stop for a moment, please. How was your chanting during that time? We chanted for 30 minutes. at that time? How was your chanting? Raise your hand if you'd like to say how your chanting was. Yes, Paul.
Although mind was trying to go, but during the entire chanting I was focused that I have to focus on these two things and focus on this one Hare Krishna.
Were you able to hear one mantra beginning with Hari during that time? Do you feel happy?
Yes.
Good. Thank you. Anyone else would like to say how their chanting was? Yes, our old friend. Yes, Paul.
It was very good, and my mind always wandering many times. So I tried to think it back.
Yes. And were you able to hear one Hare Krishna mantra during that time? Good. Thank you. Yes.
I could visualize Krishna in front of me.
Yes.
Krishna.
Balrup Krishna Rup.
I could.
You could visualize Krishna in front of you. Very nice. But did you hear?
I
Were you able to hear one Hare Krishna mantra? Yes. Because sometimes devotees ask me, oh, should I think of a picture of Krishna or should I look at a picture of Krishna? And I say that you should, if it helps your hearing, you're focusing on the hearing, yes, definitely do it. So you were able to hear. One mantra? All. Wow. Hare Baba. Thank you. Anyone else like to say how they did? Oh, okay. First this one, then this one. Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
During this time I could chant around 3 rounds. The first round when I was chanting, first round mind was little more, I was able to focus. The second and third round it was it was becoming more and more difficult.
Yes.
So again to keep back mind.
Yes.
It was appearing like this very difficult task.
Yes.
Bring the mind again.
Yes.
In the second and third round.
Okay. Did you hear one Hare Krishna mantra in that whole time?
It's straight.
Okay. Did you hear one mantra beginning with Hari, do you think?
Maybe sometime.
Okay. One.
Maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Very good. But just see, just note, it's like if you're not used to running, like our Jaswant Prabhu, he can run all the way from where? Where was it? On Dadi? That you ran from? Huh? Okay. Oh, I thought you had run from Bandra or something. Okay. When you're not used to running, you'll become very, very tired in the beginning. You start with great enthusiasm, but one has to build up one's strength. And then one gets stronger, because we're not used to dealing with the crazy, wild mind and focusing it. But if you continue, actually, then the mind will become under control. But it is not easy, as you have pointed out. But don't worry about the result. Just try your best, that's all. Keep it very simple. Just try your best. And the attempt itself is your success. You're trying to be with Krishna. You're trying to be with Krishna, and Krishna sees that. Oh, because look at the pastime of Ajamil. Look what Krishna saw in Ajamil, calling Narayana, calling his son. And Krishna took it. Oh, my devotee is calling me. It is my duty to protect him. So if we try our best, that's all we can do. But sincerely try your best. But there's one more thing you can do. Do you know what that is? Do you know what that other thing is? Do you know? Oh, you can become very humble and say to Krishna, see my condition, that my mind is so difficult to control. it becomes more and more difficult. If you don't help me, or please help me, if you don't give me your mercy, what hope do I have? Put that into your chanting, that mood also. But I've already promised. Is that okay? But that's good, it's not bad. 30 minutes. That's not easy to try your best to focus with. Did you try your best during that time? Did you try your best? It's wonderful. Yes.
I was much focused than before. I used to be calm. And you were saying was helping is not, at least me. Like I didn't realize how 30 minutes passed.
And during that whole time, did you hear one Hare Krishna mantra? Thank you. Very fortunate. Just try your best. Keep it simple. Don't put a lot of pressure on your mind. Just try to be very, very gentle. Try to be very, very gentle. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And then sometimes what happens is you're trying to sort of catch the mantra. You're trying to catch Krishna in the form of His holy names. And it's very hard to do. But then if He catches you, then it becomes easy. So our hope is if we're trying our best, then perhaps Krishna, if He so desires, will catch us. And then hearing becomes so easy and it comes more from the heart. But we can't do that by I want from now on, I will always. It just doesn't work like that. But we can try our best to be with Krishna, to establish that relationship. Krishna, for so many births, I've turned my back on you. I've had so many desires that you didn't have anything to do with. And I thought myself the center. And now, in my own very small way, I'm trying to turn to you. Please be merciful to me. Allow me to chant your names. Allow me to hear by your mercy. Allow me to serve you. And that's actually, I would say, a next step or stage in chanting. Not only try to hear, but add a little bit of the translation that Srila Prabhupada gave us to the Mahamantra. Very, very simple, but very powerful. In the very early days of the movement, he gave a very simple translation. O Lord, O energy of the Lord, O Krishna, O Srimati Radharani, please allow me to serve you. Please accept me as your servant. Please accept me as your servant. So if that desire somehow comes to the heart, allow me to serve you, Krishna, calling out in that mood, that should increase the hearing too. But the basic is the hearing. But if by Krishna's arrangement, either by the fact that you can't hear anything, because the mind is so disturbed, and sometimes the mind may be so disturbed, or out of Krishna's mercy, the heart melts a little bit, and our chanting takes on the quality of calling out to Him to allow us to serve Him. And this is the greatest honor, to serve Him, the greatest fortune, to be engaged in the service. If we sincerely, honestly feel like that, we can infuse our chanting with that mood. That's the next stage. But let that happen naturally. The basic thing is to hear. Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to say how their chanting was?
I chanted 3 rounds and it was quite soothing.
Quite?
Soothing to mind, and it was very amazing. So basically, I think that I my mind to some state. Never
think like that. Because the mind is very clever. Sometimes it makes itself small and retreats a little bit. Then it'll eat you right up. But just keep it simple. And just try to hear one Hare Krishna mantra. That's my advice on that. Ken, you wanted to say more?
Actually, it also gives some...
Do you understand what I mean by that, though? Because then you start thinking, I've defeated my mind. Oh no. He may come back really strong later on. Then what am I going to do? Oh, I know what I can do. Then I'm going to... And then you're already in a conversation with yourself that's taking you so far from the simple goal of being with Krishna in the form of his holy names. Or you start chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I'm chanting really nicely. I'm probably chanting better than anyone else. I wonder how he's chanting over there. Probably not as... And then suddenly, your mind's gone somewhere else. And you don't even notice. And one doesn't even notice how subtle and clever is this mind. But if somehow or another the mind becomes attracted to Krishna, the sound of Krishna's holy names, we should read how the great devotees chant. They can't stop chanting. It's so sweet and tasteful for them. For me, I just want to move the beads. So I finish my rounds, get them done so I don't have to do it again till tomorrow. So that's... Just imagine how unfortunate we are then if Krishna is there. And we sometimes, by His mercy, get a glimpse. By His mercy, sometimes we get a glimpse, maybe from a distance, of the sweetness of Krishna in the form of His holy names. It's like when you stand in front of Sri Samadhi Rasbihari, and you've touched a different realm. You may not be able to enter fully into that realm, or if you go to Sri Vrindavan Dham, there's something, raise your hand if you've been to Vrindavan. There's just something in the atmosphere that is just not of this world. It's like entering a magic bubble or something like that. And we may not fully appreciate Krishna's Leela, which is Nitya Leela going on constantly, but we know, we get a glimpse, maybe from a distance, but of the sweetness that's actually there. So we can get that from the holy names sometimes, but it is not in our power to make it there all the time. That's Krishna's mercy. And that aspect of Krishna's mercy, until the container of our consciousness has no holes, means that we are fully sincere and want to serve Him anyabila sita sunyam, purely. We won't be able to get that constantly. But if we chant and try our best, just try our best to be with Krishna in our own humble way. Maybe we're successful, maybe we're not successful, but we try our best. We show our sincerity to Krishna, the sincerity of our attempt, and He sees that. And then if He so desires, He'll give us something, if He so desires. Did you want to say more? Actually, I interrupted you. Yes.
Actually, it gives us more faith in chanting the holy names.
What gives you more faith in chanting?
Like hearing attentively the mantras and applying the techniques that you told. Like it gives, like, though the mind is very...
Those techniques are basically how Prabhupada taught us. He just said, try to hear the Hare Krishna Mantra. It sounds so simple, yes, but what a fight it is. But who are we fighting with? Just our mind. And therefore, in the 23rd chapter of the 11th canto, the message of the Avanti Brahmana is that really there's only one cause of difficulty, and that's the mind. because the mind is attached to things of this world, imagining that they will be the source of pleasure. And in that way we run from Krishna, we turn our back on Krishna. Janiya Shunya Bishakainu. Knowingly we drink poison. So that concept should make us humble. And there's a difference between being humble and just thinking all the time of how bad we are. A humble person turns to Krishna and says, I am yours. Please be merciful to me. Unless you accept me, what hope I have. A person who has what I call self-indulgent, neurotic tendencies, where they're just thinking about how bad they are all the time. That's not humility. It's just the mind playing its tricks and thinking about me all the time. But instead, if you understand that you're a tiny, fallen, conditioned soul and so many faults, and then grab onto Krishna with your mind, then you are very fortunate. That's humility. So therefore Mahaprabhu says we should chant in a humble state of mind. Excuse me. We should chant in a humble state of mind. I actually need a table over here to go, to pound. And how, someone could say, how do we become humble? Well, one way to become humble is connect a loudspeaker to your mind and let everyone hear what goes on in your mind 24 hours a day. Then you will become humble. That's one way. But then you also wouldn't have any friends. So there's another way, is just be a little conscious of what it's like being you. Okay, I would like to, did you want to say anything else? Because I wanted to chant a little more, because we don't have much time. Excuse me?
One question I wanted to ask, like, what is the meaning of, what is hear the mantra? Like, our ears are open. When we chant, we are hearing mantra.
But your ears may be open, but your mind may be somewhere else. So keep your ears open and keep your mind focused on that same thing that your ears should be hearing. Actually, just for a second, just listen. Everyone just listen. So what do you hear? There's so many sounds going on. What to speak if you were outside in the street and hearing all the horns again and again and again and again, honking, honking, honking. So hearing is always selective because there's always so many sounds going on. So select the sound of the mantra and put your mind on that, and that's what we mean. And then sometimes devotees will ask, how do I know if I'm really hearing? Or how do I know if I'm really, 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 really hearing? And I say, just don't worry about it. Just try to hear one Hare Krishna mantra. Just try your best. Keep it simple. And actually, if we really hear the holy name, that means Krishna manifests himself through the holy names. Then we'll be dancing in ecstasy, falling to the ground, tears flowing from our eyes, because we'll be with Krishna. Okay, now let's just chant for a few more minutes. Mataji, excuse me, because we want to chant a little bit. Okay, now what's the first thing we should do? Just prepare your mind. This really what I mean right now is decide that if I'm going to try to be with Krishna in the form of his holy names and here for this very short time that we have left, or I'm going to let my mind wander all over the universe and think about all the things I should be doing or have to do or whatever. Decide what you want to do. But if you decide you want to be with Krishna for this time period, just really try your best to do so. And remember, what we mean is try to be with Krishna in the form of His holy names and hear one Hare Krishna mantra. If you can do that, you're very fortunate. Just try your best. But see how it really takes refocusing the mind every time you begin. It really takes that. Make that sankalpa of what you want to do. And make it very strongly. Okay? You can pray for help and then make your sankalpa and then begin to chant. Just remember, if you can hear one Hare Krishna mantra beginning with Hari, you're very fortunate. Just try your best. But try with determination. Good chanting. Just try your best. That's all that's required. If your mind wanders, don't worry, it's natural. Just bring it back to the simple goal of being with Krishna in the form of His holy names. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. You have nothing else to do. Remind yourself that, okay, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I think we should end our session right now at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much. You chanted so nicely and sincerely. It was so nice to be with you. Is Sundar Chaitanya here? Prabhu, come up for a second. Now, one thing is that that I know that some of you have some questions, and I would very much like to answer them, but my voice isn't very strong. And if I spend a long time answering questions right now, I may not be able to be here tomorrow. So, excuse me for that, But if anyone, where are the books located? In that corner. We have some books here, and if anyone wants a book and I can sign it, I'd be happy to do that. But I may not be able to do well on questions. So excuse me for that. But tomorrow we shall continue. Try to chant in this way. Tomorrow morning when you chant japa, but don't expect it to be so easy, because here we are with so many devotees all sincerely trying together. But let's try our best tomorrow when we chant our daily japa, and tomorrow we shall meet again exactly at 4 o'clock. Exactly at 4 o'clock we shall begin. Okay. Prabhu?
So, thank you very much for all of your very wonderful participation. Specifically, I want to thank Mrs. Bhurijana Prabhu for extending himself for last 4 days and nourishing us, specifically this holy name seminar for today and tomorrow. So, I thank you. The core of our heart, the Lord, thank you. And very important announcement. The book table is there behind. After the announcements, you can please avail this facility of Prabhuji Personally is here who has written these books. So you can get his blessing by signing right. And I'd like to welcome Krishna Guru for
Radhakanta. Not only Krishna Kanta, but Radhakanta.
For announcement regarding our new Gurukul project in Buddha.
Yes, sir. So happy to